सर्वेभ्यः येनाक्षरसमाम्नायम् अधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयं। नत्वा सरस्वतीं देवीं शुद्धां गुण्यां करोम्यहं पाणिनीयप्रवेशाय लघुसिद्धान्तकौमुदीम्। सुधा टीकायाम् अणुदित् सवर्णस्य चा प्रत्ययः इति सूत्रस्य अध्ययनं प्रचलत् अस्ति। Actually, there is a lot to talk about this sutram. यत् किमपि अस्माभिः दृष्टं झटिति पुनरावर्तनं कुर्मः। तत्र अणुदित् सवर्णस्य चा प्रत्ययः इत्यत्र उद्देश्यम् अप्रत्ययः अण् तथा उदित्। उदित् तथा अप्रत्ययः अण् is the entity that is being talked about. The information that is extra being provided is grahakah. सवर्णस्य ग्राहकः भवति. So ग्राहकः बोधकः इति तत्र विधेयरूपेण स्वीकारः क्रियते। प्रत्ययः इत्यस्य तत्र व्याख्याने अपि लिखितमस्ति प्रतीयते विधीयते इति प्रत्ययः. So the one whose vidhana is being done, that is the pratyaya. Apratyaya is the one which is not being told. So a simple example will be iko yan achi. Yan iti vidhiyamanah, ik tatha ach is avidhiyamanah. So apratyayah. So etadrishah avidhiyamanah an udit cha savarnasya samnya syat. Any an which is not a vidhiyamana and udit ku chu tu tu pu vidhiyamanah no chet avidhiyamanah savarnasya grahakah bhavati. Savarnasya samnya bhavati ityukte savarnasya grahakah bhavati. So for example in iko yanachi, ik and ach will do the savarna grahanam. Nadi and asit becomes nadyasit, but yana will not do the savarna grahanam. More interestingly, we saw the example of tyadadi namaha. Tyadadi namaha ityatra aha iti vidhiyamanah akarah savarna grahanam na karoti. Ata eva idam iti shabdasya tyadadi namaha ityanena makarasya anunasika varnasya sthane api akarah niranunasikah eva adeshu rupena vidhiyate, because akara is not going to do savarna grahanam. So all that is already taught. उदित इत्यस्य विषये विधीयमानः अविधीयमानः उदित अपि सवर्णग्रहणं करोति. सो चोः कुः इत्यत्र चोः इति अविधीयमानः तेन च च ज झञ्, कुः इति विधीयमानः तेन क ख ग घञ्. सो स्रज becomes स्रग, वाणिज becomes वाणिग. So that's चोः कुः. We should not give examples of ch to k. We should specifically give examples of middle letters, because only then the savarna grahanam will make sense. So वाणिज becomes वाणिग इति एकम् उदाहरणम्. अस्मिन् सन्दर्भे अस्माभिः अत्र व्याख्याने निर्दिष्टं नास्ति, किन्तु कश्चन विशेषः विषयः दृष्टः. This is also in the context of the ruta uta example that is somewhere present in the Vyakhyana, Sudha Vyakhyana. Let's take a look at the Vyakhyana before that. So anudititi an avidhiyamanah savarnabodhakah udit vidhiyamanah api savarnabodhakah bhavati tena ruta uta ityado vidhiyamane uti iti na savarnagrahanam. So what he is saying is पितृ इति शब्दस्य पंचमी एकवचने ङसि प्रत्यये नो चेत् षष्ठी एकवचने ङस् प्रत्यये कृते ऋकार अकारयोः एकादेशे उकारादेशः तत्र भवति. So this ukara does not become दीर्घ ukara because उत इत्यत्र विधीयमानः अस्ति. Now this example is actually wrong, is what we saw when we talked a little bit more in more details. तत्र अस्माभिः किं दृष्टं, विधीयमानः अण् सवर्णग्रहणं न करोति इति सामान्यः नियमः, परन्तु विधीयमानः उकारः सवर्णग्रहणं कर्तुम् अर्हति इति केषाञ्चन पण्डितानां मतम्. So some group of scholars, say Kashika, believes vidhiyamanah ukarah api savarnagrahanam karoti, and therefore in order to block that particular savarnagrahanam, the taparakaranam has been done over here. The second group of scholars, which include Kaumudi, they don't talk about this. They say ukarena api vidhiyamanena savarnagrahanam na bhavati. The reason why such a difference exists is this particular sutram adaso ser dadu domaha. एतत् सूत्रमपि अस्माभिः दृष्टम्. In this sutram adas ityasya dat parasya uvarणादेशः भवति, dakarasya makarः भवति. So we saw the specific prakriya of adas dvitiya ekvachanam amum. What we saw in this particular example, adas ityatra dvitiya ekvachanasya am pratyayah त्यदादीनामः इत्यनेन सकारस्य अकारः अतो गुणे इत्यनेन अद प्लस अ बिकम्स अद अद प्लस अम इति स्थिते अमि पूर्वः इत्यनेन अदम इति शब्दः सिद्ध्यति. All this is sapada saptadhyay, so it gets executed first. Then you have tripadi. Tripadyam adaso ser dadu domaha ityanena two things. Karyadvayam bhavati, so two steps have been written. First, dakarasya makaraha bhavati, so this da is getting converted into ma, and dakarat anantaram vidyamanaha varnaha a is there. Dakarat anantaram vidyamanaha varnaha tasya ukaradeshah bhavati. This is amum, the gets converted to u. This is the place where adaso ser dadu domaha is used. Now we move to the dvitiya dvivachanam amu, and we have a little bit problem. Adas plus out iti dvitiya dvivachanasya pratyayah. Ada a initial steps are same. Tyadadinamah ato gune vruddhirechi gives adau. At this stage, dakarasya makaraha and dakarad anantaram varnasya ukaradeshah, we require that as a dirgha ukara because the correct form is amu. Therefore, in the previous case, we required Rasva Ukara. In the current case, we required Dirgha Ukara. The sutra is the same. Adasaha, Asehe, Dat, Uhu. So this is actually Vidhiyamana Ukara. Ukaradeshaha Bhavati. But this Vidhiyamana Ukara is to be interpreted as Rasva in one case, Dirgha in another case. The only way to do that, according to Kashika, is भाव्यमानेन अपि उकारेण सवर्णग्रहणं भवति. भाव्यमान इत्युक्ते विधीयमानः. विधीयमानेन अणवर्णेन सवर्णग्रहणं न भवति. उकार is an exception. भाव्यमानेन उकारेण सवर्णग्रहणं भवति. That's exactly what Kashika says. भाव्यमानेन अपि उकारेण सवर्णानां ग्रहणम् इष्यते. Therefore, when u comes as an adesha in the sutra, it will represent ekamatrika hrasva ukaraha, dvimatrika dirgha ukaraha, trimatrika pluta ukaraha. All of them will get represented. Now, ekamatrikasya ekamatrikaha, dvimatrikasya dvimatrikaha adeshah bhavati. Ityukte hrasvasya sthane hrasvadeshah, dirghasya sthane dirghadeshah. Therefore, in case of adas, aukara, which is already dirgha, is replaced by ukara, which is dirgha. In case of amum, akara, which is already rasva, is replaced by ukara, which is rasva. Rasvasya sthane rasva, dirghasya sthane dirgha. Understand this. In the sutram, ukara is vidhiyamana. As like atyadadinamaha, it should not have done savarna granam. But if it doesn't do savarna granam, if we bring ukara, always the forms like adau converting to amu cause a problem. You cannot do that conversion. Therefore, Kashika Kara follows this. Bhavyamanena api ukarena savarna grahanam ishyate. Nagesh in Paribhashindu Shekhara accepts this paribhasha. So see this over here. He exactly gives the same example. Adaso sehe ityadina amau ityado dirgha vidhanam nasyat. If you stay with the anudit savarna se cha pratyaya and say that a pratyaya an savarna granam na karoti, then amu ityado dirgha vidhanam nasyat. Ataha bhavyamanaha api ukaraha savarnan grunhati, and the jnapaka in ashtadhyay is diva uta or rutta uta. Panini knows or knew this paribhasha, therefore he explicitly did the taparakaranam on ukara. Ruta uta ityatra taparakaranam jnapaka-rupena svikriyate. Kim bhavyamanena api ukarena savarnagranam bhavati. Same argument we saw in the previous class. Ruta it dhatoh ityasya vishe api bhavitum arhati, parantu tadrisham kenapi uktam nasti. Kimartham iti chet tadrisham tatra avashyakam eva nasti. You do not need ikara to do savarna granam anywhere. If there is no need for ikara to do the savarna granam, you don't need to bring into all this business of bhavyamanaha api ikaraha savarna granam karoti and so on. On the other hand, bhavyamanena ukarena savarna granam bhavati ityasya tatra prayojanam asti. Ataha tatra ruta uta diva uta iti sutram jnapaka rupena svikriyate. This is the paksha in Kashika, and Kaumudi does not agree or does not put forth this paksha. Kaumudi simply says U iti hrasva dirghayoho samahara dvandvaha. So very beautiful other kind of argument. Kaumudi says this U is actually samahara dvandva. Ahischa nakulascha ahinakulam. Pani cha padau cha pani padam. So it always comes in ekvachanam. Samahara dvandva is always in the ekvachanam. So ushcha is U and it is in the ekvachanam. So U is ekvachanam, U is dvivachanam and Vaha is bahuvachanam. So ushcha is U ekavachanam. So by interpreting U as a samahara dvandva, U iti hrasva dirghayoho samahara dvandvaha is basically both the adeshas are combined. अत्र आदेशद्वयस्य विधानमस्ति तर्हि तत्र स्थानेन्तरतमः इति सूत्रं प्रयोक्तव्यं तत्र उच्चारणकालसाधर्म्यं स्वीक्रियते. So you have two adeshas, you pick the right one at the right place. ह्रस्व वर्णस्य स्थाने ह्रस्व उकारः, दीर्घ वर्णस्य स्थाने दीर्घ उकारः आदेशरूपेण विधीयते. Therefore in Sudha Teeka, this particular ruta ita ityadu vidhiyamane utti iti na savarna grahanam, this is a fishy line. He could have given a better example because this is something that Kashika and Kaumudi, even Nagesha for example, would not agree to this straightforward. तदनन्तरम् अग्रे किमुच्यते उदित् इत्यस्य उदाहरणं दत्तमस्ति कुहोश्चुः चोः कुः इत्यादौ विधीयमाने अपि उदित् इत्यस्य सवर्णग्रहणं भवति. सो द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ कुहोश्चुः चखाद जगाम पफाल, all these are examples of कुहोश्चुः. चोः कुः I gave sraj becomes a srag, vanij becomes vanig. These are examples of चोः कुः. Now he moves on a different topic, equally interesting. He looks at this ana letter over here and he says there are two nakaras in the Maheshwara Sutra. Ai una ityatra nakarah asti, lana ityatra nakarah asti, kena nakarena atra grahanam bhavati. And he says atraiva ana parena nakarena. So we have 5 different sutras where ana is used. So we have urandraparaha, there is ana. We have dhralope purvasa dirghonaha, there is ana. We have kenaha, there is ana. We have ano pragruhyasya anunasikaha, there is ana. And the fifth one over here is anudit savarnasya chapratyayah, there is ana. एतेषु सर्वेषु अपि पंचसु सूत्रेषु अण इति अस्ति. तत्र चतुर्षु सूत्रेषु विद्यमानः णकारः पूर्वणकारः, एकस्मिन् सूत्रे विद्यमानः णकारः परणकारः. Why such a difference? Why not have same thing for all 5? So this is the question that Paribhashendu Shekhara opens with. The very first paribhasha of Paribhashendu Shekhara exactly talks about this particular question. Why such a difference? How would I know that ana of anudit is by paranakara and ana of everywhere else is by purvanakara? He says लण ऐ उण सूत्रयोः नकार द्वयस्य एव उपादानेन अण इण ग्रहणेषु संदेहात् अनिर्णयः अत आह व्याख्यानतो विशेष प्रतिपत्तिः. You look in the व्याख्यान, you read bhashya, whatever bhashyakara tells you, you believe that. So व्याख्यानतो विशेष प्रतिपत्तिः नहि संदेहाद लक्षणम. So you look into the व्याख्यान, read the bhashya, the bhashyakara will say which an is purva, which an is paranakara. So then he explains it in the same thing in Sudha Teeka. Atra vyakhyanameva sharanam. Do not use your intelligence. Purvena eva anagrahaha sarve parena eva inagrahaha mataha. In is par always, an is purva. Rute ityukte without. Rute anudit savarnasya ityetadekam parena tu. Anudit savarnasya will be paranakara, everything else will be purnakara. Belief on Mahabhashya, which I don't. There is no reason to believe here on Mahabhashya. Why? Because in Mahabhashya itself, at some other place, Bhashyakara very beautifully demonstrates that this is not a random decision. Phenomenal explanation. In Lana Sutra Bhashya, he will show, he will take all these 5 sutras, he will take similarly the sutras that have ina as a pratyahara, and he will show that if you are a real logical thinker, such a question will not come to your mind. In all these sutras, if you really understand the meaning and implications of urandraparaha, dhralope purvasya dirghonaha, kenaha, anopragruhyasya anunasikaha, and anudit savarnasya cha pratyayaha, if you have studied Ashtadhyayi properly, it should be quite evident to you that urandraparaha must be purvena nakarena. I am not dictating anything out of randomness. There is a reason for it. ढलोपे दूर्वस्य दीर्घोणः must be पूर्वेण नकारेण, केणः must be पूर्वेण नकारेण, अणुप्रगृह्यस्य अनुनासिकः must be पूर्वेण नकारेण, अनुदित सवर्णश्च प्रत्ययः must be परेण नकारेण. You do not have a choice. How does he describe it? Actually wrote a paper on this a few months, a year ago. You can see on the screen. I'll share this particular document with you all. णकार ग्रहण विशिष्ट संदेह निवर्तकानि पाणिनीय ज्ञापकानि. Is there hint available in various places in Ashtadhyayi based on which the nakara grahana sandeha, whether it is ana with the first nakara or whether it is the ana with the second nakara, that particular sandeha, it can be removed, nivartaka. So Bhashyakara says is okay, that's not an issue, but is there hint embedded inside Ashtadhyayi itself with which, without looking at the Bhashya, we can finally somehow conclude that the ana in some sutras must be purvanakara, ana in some sutras must be paranakara. So over here, all that I have mentioned is vastutastu ana pratyahara ghatiteshu इन प्रत्याहार घटितेषु च सर्वेषु सूत्रेषु विद्यमानम अण इण ग्रहणम प्रत्येकं पृथक् स्वीकृत्य अष्टाध्याय्यां विद्यमानानि अन्यानि एव सूत्राणि ज्ञापकरूपेण उपयुज्य पूर्वणकारेण परणकारेण वा अयं निर्देशः इति विशिष्टस्य तर्कस्य साहाय्येन निस्सन्देहं दर्शयितुं शक्यते. Purely using logic, it is possible to take each sutram and place it unambiguously in one bucket or another, purvanakara versus paranakara. अस्मिन् सन्दर्भे केचन अंशाः लणसूत्रभाष्ये एव पतञ्जलिना विवरिताः सन्ति, केचन अन्ये नूतनरूपेण अत्र उपस्थापिताः वर्तन्ते. So this paper will combine both the things, some things which Patanjali himself has given, some things which can be seen from the Sutra Patha. So here, Anapratyahara Ghatiteshu, I have taken each case one by one. Urandraparaha, Anudit Savarnasya cha Pratyayaha, Dhralope Purvasya Dirghonaha, Kenaha, Anopragruhyasya Anunasikaha, and for in there is a single argument. Okay, so now this is beyond the scope of entire Sudha Teeka, but those of you who are interested can actually go through this. So coming back to the topic, tatra अत्रैव इत्युक्ते अनुदित सवर्णस्य चा प्रत्ययः अस्मिन्नेव सूत्रे परेण नकारेण अण् इत्यस्य ग्रहणम्, अन्यत्र अणो प्रगृह्य नासिकः इत्यादौ पूर्वणकारेण ग्रहणम्. अत्र व्याख्यानमेव शरणं. व्याख्यानम् इस् भाष्य. पूर्वेणैवान् ग्रहाः सर्वे परेणैवेन् ग्रहा मताः ऋतेणुदित सवर्णस्येत्येतदेकं परेण तु इति भाष्यकारेण उक्तम्. So भाष्यकार itself explicitly says this particular thing.
Mahoday, can you explain the paribhasha that you showed for the lan alakshanam iti some?
व्याख्यानतो विशेष प्रतिपत्तिः नहि संदेहात् अलक्षणम्. सो अत्र किञ्चिदिव ज्ञात्वा पाणिनिना दोषः कृतः, भाष्यकारेण दोषः कृतः इति कदापि न वक्तव्यम्. संदेहे प्राप्ते अलक्षण means सूत्रकार is wrong, भाष्यकार is wrong. So he writes over here, संदेहात् शास्त्रम अननुष्ठापकम. Ananusthapakam means not to be taken as a siddhanta. I do not understand this sutram, I have a doubt, therefore the sutram is wrong. I have seen students like that. I do not understand this, so it is wrong. This kind of approach should not be there. Very first paribhasha of Vyakarana Shastra, when you are studying the entire Paribhashindu Shekhara or entire Vyakarana Shastra in general, never keep this attitude. I do not understand, so there is a mistake. If the mistake is in you, not is in the text. So he explains it over here. विशेषान्यतराद्यर्थ रूपस्य व्याख्यानात् शिष्टकृतात् प्रतिपत्ति निश्चयः. शिष्टकृतात् व्याख्यानात्. Read the vyakhyanas that are written by scholars. Read their commentaries. Approach a guru and ask. Do not disbelieve the shastras because you have a question which you don't think is answered over there. Applies for Vedanta also, Mimamsa also, Nyaya also, everywhere is given in the beginning of Paribhashendu Shekhara in Vyakarana. So, Sandeha Nivrutte Vyakhyana Atirikta Nimitta Anapekshatvam. If you have a Sandeha, the only way to resolve it is Vyakhyana, not your intelligence, not playing a dice and finding out what could be the answer. Sandeha Nivrutte Vyakhyana Atirikta. Other than the Vyakhyana, Nimitta Anapekshatvam. There is no other Nimitta other than the Vyakhyana. This should be understood. And in order to emphasize this point, Nagesha says this, we don't know true or false, but Nagesha says this, in order to emphasize this point, Panini purposely made a mistake in the beginning, apparent mistake in the beginning, by writing ణ in Ayuna and by writing ణ in Lana, so that half knowledgeable students will start reading Maheshwara Sutras, will say Panini doesn't know anything, and will leave immediately. Only those who believe in the Shastra will proceed. So, asandigdhanusthana siddhyartham, in order to only allow the entries for the student who believe in the robustness of the Shastra, sandigdha ucharana rupam acharyena atra krutam. Acharya Panini himself did a vyavahara of sandigdha ucharanam, ayuna and lana. As soon as somebody says Panini doesn't understand anything, he goes away. Only those who believe and read the Mahabhashya will continue ahead. So is the meaning of Vyakhyanato Vishesha Pratipatti Nahi Sandeha. The Lakshanam pretty much applicable in this Anudit Savarnasya Cha Pratyaya context. Atra Ana iti Parena Nakarena Asti. अन्यः कश्चन विषयः अत्र इको यण अचि इत्यत्र अच् इत्यत्र आकारः अपि गृह्यते. इको इत्यत्र इक् इत्यनेन ईकारः अपि गृह्यते, परन्तु अणुदित् इत्यत्र अण् इत्यनेन आकारः न गृह्यते, ईकारः न गृह्यते. You cannot apply the same sutra in itself till it is defined. You understand what I am saying? Anudit savarnasya cha pratyaya says an ityanena savarna granam bhavati. Once this sutra's meaning is understood, then you can do the savarna granam for an in the sutram. But when sutram is being defined, you cannot do savarna granam. Ana over here itself does not do savarna granam. Ana only includes a, I, U, Ru, A, I, O, O and others. It does not include A. It does not include E. Why? Because in order for Ana to include A, it must do Savarna Granam. But by which sutram does it do the Savarna Granam? Anudit Savarna Cha Pratyaya. So you are using the same sutra to interpret the same sutra. That does not make any sense. So this is the only place where, and a few more are there, Najjalo and so on is also there, but we'll keep that aside. But these are only few places, only handful of places where ana ityanena savarna grahanam na bhavati. This is not vidhiyamana ana. This is uddeshya. It's not vidhiyamana. So technically it should do the savarna grahanam. But at this point, savarna grahanam itself is not defined. Ataha atra ana ityanena savarna grahanam na bhavati. Therefore, akarena savarna granam na bhavati, ikarena savarna granam na bhavati, and so on. So, in this particular sutram and a handful of others, ana will not do the savarna granam. And therefore, in Vruddhi Radhaich, for example, a does not do savarna granam. Otherwise, a will come along with a, right? And therefore, that taparakaranam ta is not for akara. We say taparakaranam aijartham. So, it's because taparakaranam is not for a will not do the savarna granam at all. Same is the reason why use त्र्याख्यो नदी इत्यत्र दीर्घ उकारेण दीर्घ ईकारेण savarna granam na bhavati. Otherwise, hrasva ikaranta words will also get nadi samnya. We only say use triakhyo nadi, which is dirgha ikara and dirgha ukara. Why doesn't it not include hrasva ikara and hrasva ukara? Because dirgha swarena savarna granam na bhavati. then he goes ahead and enumerates. So tadevam. So now we know that a will represent all the savarnas. How many? 18. Rasva dirgha pluta 3 multiplied by udatta anudatta swarita 3 multiplied by anunasika niranunasika 2. 18. He does a lot of hard work and enumerates that. So ashtadashanam iti ह्रस्व उदात्त अनुनासिक ह्रस्व उदात्त अनुनुनासिक ह्रस्व अनुदात्त अनुनुनासिक ह्रस्व अनुदात्त अनुनासिक ह्रस्व अनुदात्त अनुनुनासिक this इति एतेषाम् अर्थः. So you can read it on your own, or you can construct your own sentences like that. So basically he takes one bheda, ह्रस्व दीर्घ or pluta, he takes udatta anudatta or swarita, and he takes anunasika and ananunasika, and he does all possible combinations and does the sandhis and continues still from 1 to 18. Thankfully, he doesn't do that for ikara and ukara. Otherwise, so anaya ritya ikara ukara yoho api bodhyam. So that is hrasva udatta anunasika ikara, hrasva anudatta anunasika ikara, blah blah. Okay. So essentially, he is enumerating 18, 18, 18.
Is it a standard practice? We have to say the hrasva part first and then udatta.
Correct. It is a standard practice. You say hrasva, and then udatta anudatta swarita, and then anunasika nirunasika. Because I think Panini writes it like that, right? Ukalo jhrasva dirgha plutah achascha uchchairudattah nichairunudattah samahara swaritah. And mukhanasika vachanasika is separate, but we usually combine it at the end. अनेन प्रकारेण एतेषां सर्वेषाम् अष्टादशानाम् अत्र परिगणनं कृतम् अस्ति. अनया रीत्या इकार उकारयोः अपि बोध्यं ऋकार इति. ऋकारस्य अनेन प्रकारेण ऋकारस्य अष्टादश लुकारस्य दीर्घाभावात् दीर्घषट्कं विहाय 12. So 18 over there, 12 over there, and then ऋकार लुकारयोः सावर्ण्याद् भाष्यकारेण रू लू वर्णयोः मिथस्सावर्ण्यं वाच्यम् इति उक्तमस्ति. So 18 plus 12 त्रिंशत् इति भावः. अनेन प्रकारेण अ इति अष्टादशानां संज्ञा तथा इकार ओकारौ ऋकारः त्रिंशत् लुकारः अपि त्रिंशदेव. So understand this, in case of a, of all those 18, only one member will do the savarna grahanam. In case of ikara, of all 18, one member will do the savarna grahanam. In case of lukara and rukara, out of 32 members will do the savarna grahanam. Lu ityanena sarvesham grahanam, lu ityanena api sarvesham. Anena prakarena rukara lukarayoho savaranya militva trimshat iti bhavah evam lukaropi. एचो द्वादशानाम् ए इत्यत्र ऐ इत्यत्र ओ इत्यत्र औ इत्यत्र ह्रस्वभेदः नास्ति. सो 6 दीर्घ and 6 प्लुता become 12. एचः इति द्वादशानां बोधकः तदेवम् ए ओ ऐ औ इति प्रत्येकं 12 इति भावः. Now they start a different topic at the end. So तत्र तैः कः प्रश्नः क्रियते, एकार ऐकारयोः सावर्ण्यम् अस्ति वा इति प्रश्नः. What is the uchcharana sthana of ekara? Kanthatalu. What is the uchcharana sthana of aikara? Kanthatalu. What is the abhyanta prayatna? Vivruta. Abhyanta prayatna of aikara is vivruta. Tarhi ekara aikarayoho savarnyam kimartham nasti iti prashnaha. What have you learned in that context?
Prithak sutra samarthyam.
What prithak sutra samarthyam? I ouch iti prithak sutram asti. A ong I ouch iti prithak sutram asti. So what did we say? That A and I are present in the Maheshwara Sutras separately. Therefore, A and I are not savarnas. Is that what you learnt? Anybody learnt anything different?
No.
Okay.
That is
So
correct.
K and K are also separately included. Why are they savarnas?
तत्र कु इति एव सवर्णग्रहणं करोति, but क ख individually doesn't do the savarnagrahanam.
Correct. Ku ityanena savarnagrahanam bhavati. So this is a standard question. Ku ityanena eva savarnagrahanam bhavati. Kakara khakarena savarnagrahanam na bhavati. Atah k and k is separately present. Correct? So the argument for a ong and I ouch should not be that a and I are separately present, but the correct argument should be that ekarena aikarasya grahanam bhavati तथापि ऐकारः पृथक् रूपेण स्थापितः अस्ति. Only saying A and I are separately present does not block their savarnya. Just like the way only K and K separately present do not block their savarnya. You understand what I am saying? What argument did you present earlier? Aikar, aukarayoho पृथक् ग्रहण सामर्थ्यात्. पृथक् ग्रहणम is not the reason. एकारेण ऐकारस्य ग्रहणं संभवति तथापि पृथक् ग्रहणम्. एकारेण ऐकारस्य ग्रहणं कथं संभवति? अरे देर उच्चारण स्थान देर प्रयत्न is the same. अनुदित सवर्ण से चा प्रत्यय might do एकारेण ऐकार सवर्ण ग्रहणम, but still aikara is present separately, therefore they are not savarnas. Understood the full argument or no? Simply saying A and I are separately present in the Maheshwara Sutras is not a strong argument. Just like the way K and K are separately present but still they are savarnas. In the same way, I will counter question, let A and I be separately present, they are also savarnas. Separate presence of A and I does not block existence or non-existence of savarnya. What is the reason? Kakarena khakarasya grahanam na bhavati. Ku ityanena khakarasya grahanam bhavati. Parantu yadi A and I become savarnas, then ekarena aikarasya grahanam bhavet. Anudit ityatra ana pratyahare ekarah asti. Ekarena aikarasya grahanam bhavet. But still I and A are separately present, therefore they are not savarnas. Clear? So that's what he says. Nanu sthana prayatnayoho tulyatvat savarnena e aikarasya o okarasya bodhakaha. This argument is important and people usually miss this. Simply saying that the letters are repeated doesn't disqualify them from being savarnas. Grahanam is important. Savarnena e aikarasya o aukarasya bodhakaha bhavet. परंतु ऐ औच इति पृथक् सूत्रं कृतम् अस्ति, अतः तेषां सावर्ण्यं नास्ति.
Could you just repeat that once again?
ए इत्यस्य स्थानं कण्ठतालु, ए इत्यस्य प्रयत्नः विवृतः, ऐ इत्यस्य स्थानं कण्ठतालु, एदैतो कण्ठतालु, ऐ इत्यस्य प्रयत्नः विवृतः. So prayatna and sthana are same. So by tulyasya prayatnam savarnam, they must be savarnas. Why are they not savarnas? The reason that we give is that A and I are present separately in the Maheshwara Sutras. My counter question on that is, why don't you apply the same logic for K and K? Is K and K savarna? Then why is K needed? K and G are savarnas, why is G needed? So that argument is half complete. What is the full argument? The full argument is that let A and I be savarnas or not savarnas. The point is akarena akarasya grahanam sambhavati. Savarna grahanam, the business of anudit savarna se cha pratyaya. Akarena akarasya grahanam sambhavati. Ikarena ikarasya grahanam sambhavati. Therefore आकारस्य पृथक् निर्देशः नावश्यकः, ईकारस्य पृथक् निर्देशः नावश्यकः. तादृशम् एकारेण ऐकारस्य ग्रहणं न संभवति इति पाणिनी वक्तुमिच्छति, अतः तत्र ऐकारस्य पृथक् निर्देशः कृतः. The same logic can now be applied to K and K. ककारेण खकारस्य ग्रहणं न भवति, कु इत्यनेन खकारस्य ग्रहणं भवति. There is a difference. Kakarena khakarasya granam na bhavati. So K and K can be still present because kakarena khakarasya granam na bhavati. So two savarnas can be separately present in Maheshwara Sutras as long as one does not do the grahanam of another. But ekara will do the grahanam of aikara. Therefore, their prithak presence tells us that they are not savarnas.
No, there we are even cancelling out the savarna itself, not just the grahakam, right? We could have told that, okay, it does not take in all the savarnas also, we can say there.
Very smart argument. The point is there are two possibilities. We can either cancel the savaranyam or we can cancel the savarna grahanam. And very precise. Everybody understood this question? We can either cancel the savaranyam or we can cancel the savarna grahanam. But there is no sufficient evidence to cancel the savarna grahanam. No hint from Panini that we have to cancel the savarna grahanam over there. On the other hand, there is some hint to cancel the actual savaranyam. What kind of hint? The Shiksha Shastra or even Patanjali explains that the Abhyantara Prayatna of A and I are not identical. They are slightly different. We don't teach this in the beginning level, but understand this. Ekarasya Abhyantara Prayatnaha Vivrutaha. ऐकारस्य आभ्यन्तरप्रयत्नः विवृततरः इति उच्यते. Sometimes he uses different phrases. He says ekarasya vivrutataraha, aikarasya vivrutatamah. So either 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. As long as that relative ratio is same, you don't care. So ekarasya vivrutaha, aikarasya vivrutatarah, or ekarasya vivrutatarah, aikarasya vivrutatamah. Why Vivruta Taraha? Because he wants to distinguish it from the other Vivrutas. U are Vivrutas. That is also different than Ekara. So he says Ekara se Vivruta Taraha. Aikara is even different. That is Vivruta Tamaha. Anena prakarena Shiksha Shastre Ekara Aikarayoho Tatra Prayatne eva Bhedaha Kriyate. Tadrishaha Bheda Kriyate Chet Sulyasa Pretnam Savarnam Sutra itself will tell you there are no more Savarnas. I think I've explained this. भाष्ये एकार ओकारयोः आभ्यन्तर प्रयत्नः विवृतः ऐकार औकारयोः आभ्यन्तर प्रयत्नः विवृततरः निर्दिश्यते. Therefore the prayatna is different and therefore their savarna is blocked. If you don't agree to this, we can then say that ekara aikarayoः पृथक् ग्रहणं माहेश्वर सूत्रेषु कृतमस्ति, अतः एकारेण ऐकारस्य ग्रहणं न भवति. And now understand, यदि एकारेण ऐकारस्य ग्रहणं न भवति तर्हि तयोः सावरणे संज्ञया को लाभः? अतः सावर्णत्वमपि निषिध्यते. Okay, if the savarna grahanam cannot happen, then there is no other use for ekara and aikara to remain savarnas of each other. So their savarna is not valued, so it gets removed. Clear so far? Bala Manorama very beautifully talks about this particular aspect. Anudit savarnasya cha pratyayaha ityatra Bala Manoramayam. Look at this. Yadi hi एदैतोः ओदौतोः च परस्परं सावर्ण्यं तर्हि एकारेण ऐकार प्रपंचस्य ओकारेण औकार प्रपंचस्य अकारादिभिः दीर्घप्लुतानामिव ग्रहण संभवात्. Just like the way a includes dirgha and pluta, in the same way a will include I. औज इति सूत्रम नारभ्येत इत्युक्ते don't make that sutram. This is the argument that we all have learnt. आरभ्यते च सूत्रकृता, but Panini creates that sutram. अतः एदैतोः ओदौतोः च न परस्पर सावर्ण्यं विज्ञायते. Now he says vastutastu. Actually, the I ouch sutram has a reason. Even if I and A were savarnas, still Panini was forced to create I ouch as a sutram. What was the argument? Yadi ekar aikaro savarno staha, tarhi aikar aukarayoho shivasutreshu grahanam navashyakam asit. What he says is that's not the case. I and au will still be required vastutastu. I ouch iti sutrameva yadi na syat, tarhi वृद्धिरादैच ऐच प्रत्याहार has been used. न इवाभ्याम पदांताभ्याम पूर्वौतुताभ्याम ऐच ऐच प्रत्याहार is used. प्लुतौ ऐच ईदुतौ ऐच प्रत्याहार is used. In all these cases, you would be forced to use eng, because all that now you have is ayun ruluk a ong. That's it. You don't have ayuch. So because you decided that they are savarnas, you got rid of them. So eng iti pratyahara bhavet. So eteshu sthaleshu eng grahanasya apattihi, and that's obviously not correct. You don't want ekara okara yoho vriddhi samnya. You only want aikara aukara yoho vriddhi samnya. Ataha eng grahanasya apattihi bhavet. Ataha तन्निवृत्त्यर्थम. So for the validity of these sutras, ऐच प्रत्याहारः आवश्यकः. तदर्थम ऐ औच इति आरंभणीयमेव. So I ouch sutram must be there irrespective of whether they A and I are savarnas or not. Clear so far? So all our argument now collapses. We based all our argument by saying that I and O are there. That is a proof that A and I are not savarnas. O and O are not savarnas. All that argument is now collapsed. All that now we are saying is that whether they are savarnas or not, I and O must still be separately present in each pratyahara because it is used in sutras like Vruddhi Radhaich. Ataha I औज इति सूत्रारंभस्य चरितार्थत्वात्. See the language. Sutrarambhasya charitarthatvat means the fact that a separate sutra is present. You used that fact for saying that I and O are not savarnas. This is not correct argument. Ataha I औज इति सूत्र आरंभस्य चरितार्थत्वात् एदैतोः ओदौतोः च मिथः सावर्ण्य अभाव साधकत्वम anupapannam. The anupapannam is incorrect. What is incorrect? The fact that you take I ouch as a separate sutram and use it to justify the non-existence of savaranya between A and I or O and Au is not correct. Even if A and I were savarnas, O and Au were savarnas, still sutras like Vruddhiradaic would force you to have I ouch as a separate sutram. So I ouch as a separate sutram has a validity. That validity has nothing to do with savarnya or non-savarnya. Ataha I ouch iti sutrarambhasya charitarthatvat. Charitartha means the existence of the sutram cannot be used as a jnapaka. Tasmat edaito odautoshcha mitha savarnya abhava sadhakatvam. That kathanam is anupapannam. Therefore, all our argument is collapsed. The only reason that we say is the A and I are not savarnas because their abhyantara prayatnas are different. One is vivrutatara, other is vivrutatama, or one is vivruta and other is vivrutatara. Clear?
Clear, Mahoday, but I disagree with it.
Yeah, tell me.
Astu. Idanim, to forget the Vivrutatara, Vivrutatama, but just because he needs Aich to be used in like Vriddhiradech and other Sutrani doesn't justify the existence of a separate Pratyahara. For example, take the use Kriya Nadi. There, he wants only the Dirgha Ikara, the Dirgha Ukara. So he kind of concocts his way of taking only those two, and that's there in the Vyakarana. So similarly, wherever he wanted I and Au, he could have done some kind of, Ayau or something like that. He could have as easily used that instead of trying to use the Pratyahara Aich.
So that is an acceptable argument. The counter argument for that is Laghavam. Aich is 2.5 matra, Iau is 4 matra. 2 plus 2, 4. And Aich is 2.5 matra. So the counter argument on that would be Laghavam.
So my question is this Vivruta and Vivrutatara, it is used in the Shiksha. Has it been written by Panini or has it been written by the later Vyakaranas?
I don't know. It's not there in Paniniya Shiksha. Is it there in any other Shikshas? I don't know. But it is definitely there in Mahabhashyam. So it might be written by the later Vyakaranas. In fact, I believe it is written by later Vyakaranas because forget about Vivruta and Vivrutatara. Panini has only 4 Abhyantara Prayatnas. Sprushta, Ishat Sprushta, Vivruta and Savruta. And anything that you combine under Vivruta and Ishat Vivruta, Panini puts it under Vivruta. That's why he is forced to create another Sutram, Najhalau. That Sutram, which you have not studied probably, but Najhalau Sutram, it comes immediately after Tulyasya Pratnam Savarnam. Tulyasya Pratnam Savarnam Najhalau. So Najhalau Sutram is required only because of this Panini's interpretation. If you decide 5 different types of Abhyantara Prayatnas, and if you include Ishad Vivruta, which Bhashyakara does, then you don't need a Najhalau. Bhashyakara also brings in Vivruta Tara and Vivruta Tama, which must be there according to him in some Shikshas or whatever. And therefore, I ouch iti pruthak sutratvena tayoho savaranya abhava jnapakatvat is also slightly fishy. Because you see a cross questioning in Balamanorama. I'm not saying it is wrong, but slightly fishy. I ouch iti pruthak sutratvena tayoho savaranya abhava jnapakatvat is what all we learn. It's not a problem, but it has been contradicted, questioned. And then finally he says, Yavalanam api anunasika niranunasika bhedah asti, anunasika ananunasika bhedena yavalaha dvidha, tena ananunasikaha te dvayoho samya. Y and anunasika y, v and anunasika v, and so on. R iti nasti. R and anunasika r are not there. Kevalam yavalaha dvidha anunasika niranunasikaha tatrapi niranunasika bhedena sanunasika bhedasya grahanam bhavati if it is not vidhiyamana.